Linwood, thanks for being with us, sir.
Well, good morning. I guess you are finding that our mainstream media is not telling the American public the truth about this election. That does not surprise me. As I've said many times, the mainstream media, I believe, is a propaganda tool for third-party bad actors who are attempting, in effect, to overthrow our government and to interfere in the election of a duly elected president of the United States. I think you're going to see a lot of developments over the next several days that will wake up this country to foreign interference in our national election.
Linwood, tell us about your victory last night. You had a victory, then it got reversed, then you did a Zoom call, it got reversed again. Where are we with that now, sir?
Well, the court initially had impounded the voting machines, the Dominion machines, in all counties throughout Georgia.
Right.
There was an interesting issue raised by the Secretary of State claiming that he had no authority over the various counties. That's utter nonsense, and it's a misrepresentation of the truth.
Mm-hmm.
The Dominion voting machines were purchased by the state of Georgia, not the individual counties. Mm-hmm. And the Secretary of State controls how those machines are utilized in each county. Mm-hmm. The judge, though, was misled, I believe, by the Secretary of State, and then he changed his order. Mm-hmm. We got back before the court last night, and the court did, in fact, rule that in 3 counties, those machines must be impounded so that we have a chance to do a mirror image of the computer drives. This is going to prove somewhere down the road in the near future, without any question, that these machines and the software used were manipulated. Dominion originated in Venezuela. Mm-hmm. It's a Canadian company. Servers were used in Barcelona and in Frankfurt. There's no question that there's going to be overwhelming evidence that foreign countries, including China, were involved in interfering with our national election. And I think your viewers and listeners should recognize that the President of the United States knows what he's doing. And back in September of 2018, there was an executive order put in place which gave the President the authority, working with other members of the government, to impose sanctions in the event of foreign interference in a United States election. If I were Governor Brian Kemp and Brad Raffensperger, I would not be sleeping very well tonight. Time is coming soon when the provisions of that order, I believe, will be enforced. There's going to be any number of individuals, including members of the media, who were involved with foreign actors who tried to undermine our election, which is a clear and present danger and threat to this country. The Democrats, for years, the first 2 or 3 years of the Trump presidency, complained about Russia. That turned out to be a hoax. What we're going to find out in the next several days is this is not a hoax now. This country had its national election interfered with by foreign actors who were complicit with citizens of the United States. There are severe sanctions. I believe ultimately a lot of people are going to jail, as they should.
Linwood, let me ask you this. Linwood with us, noted attorney in Atlanta, filed this lawsuit. Why did Secretary of State, Republican Brad Raffensperger, last night fight so hard to not have the forensic analysis done on these Dominion machines? And why were they in such a hurry to get all the data on the machines wiped clean? Why, sir?
They're guilty. Simple truths are simple truth. He who has nothing to hide hides nothing. The Secretary of State is taking every action he can through lawyers to try to prevent an inspection of these machines. He has something to hide. The governor, Brian Kemp, is hiding in the basement of the governor's mansion on West Paces Ferry. He has something to hide. You don't see much of Joe Biden. He has something to hide. There are any number of individuals associated with the Democratic Party nationally and any number of individuals associated with the Democratic Party and even the Republican Party, nationally and locally, that have something to hide. But I believe that every lie will be revealed, and the truth is going to come out about who was involved with foreign actors in trying to interfere with and subvert the legal processes of this country as it relates to our national election. Once again, we have to be patient. The report on this executive order has to be done within 45 days of the election. I think over the course of the next several weeks or days even, this country is going to be shocked at the level of foreign interference where American citizens were involved, government officials, political officials, members of the media. There's going to be a day of reckoning, John, and the consequences are going to be severe for those who tried to tamper with our country's election.
All right, walk us through, Lynn Wood with us, noted attorney Lynn Wood filed the suit. Walk us through the emergency declaration that you got, the ruling on that for your emergency hearing on Wednesday. Walk us through that and tell us what you potentially expect, Lynn Wood.
We expect to have our experts, a team of experts, go into 3 counties in the state to analyze and mirror the hard drives of certain of these Dominion voting machines. The way it's set up right now, their results will be delivered to the court. There's some other legal issues that have to be ironed out, worked out, but we believe that ultimately we'll be able to present that information to the court, and that information will show that these machines were tampered with, that algorithms were put into place, even where every Democrat started off with 35,000 votes. It's a nice advantage to start off with. Mm-hmm. And algorithms that gave fractional votes, for example, a vote for old Biden would get 1.25 votes, and a vote for President Trump would get something like 0.6 or 0.7 of a vote. That was an algorithm placed in that machine that defrauded the American public. And then you add on top of that the blatant fraud that was perpetrated through the mail-in ballots, where you had tens of thousands, in some states, hundreds of thousands of ballots that were pristine, that were only votes for Biden with no down ballot votes, that had almost perfect computer bubble markings. Mm-hmm. Listen, the combination of the voting machines from Venezuela/Canada combined with the paper ballots, some of which were manufactured in China, is going to be undisputably shown to have taken or attempted to take a landslide victory from President Trump, upwards of 410 electoral votes, 80 million votes, popular vote, to have tampered with and interfered with the election of this country, where we reelected the president by a landslide, and foreign actors working with, I can't think of the right term, I would say traitors in America, tried to flip that result by fraud. People are going to go to jail. People are going to lose their property. There's going to be a day of reckoning soon.
So, Lynn Wood, you believe, based on what you've seen and based on the suit that you filed, that when the forensic analysis is done on these machines, you've only got 3 counties, right? Cherokee, Gwinnett, and what's the other one?
Cobb.
So you've only got 3 counties. You didn't get Fulton County, but you've got 3. But you actually believe that when the analysis is done, that it is going to show in the software that there was actually algorithms put in to cheat President Trump of votes and to overcalculate for Biden. And that is going to be what you're saying now. You believe that is going to be evidence that's going to be hard, solid evidence.
It is going to be hard, solid evidence. And there's it's hard to get your arms around the mass amount of evidence of fraud.
Really?
This fraud was perpetrated in a number of ways, and it's so blatant that it has to raise in a reasonable person's mind the fact that they knew they were going to get caught. I believe, and have for some time believed, that the Democrats didn't intend to elect Joe Biden. He's a criminal. or Kamala Harris, as I call her. I think she is a communist sympathizer. Why would they run these people for president and vice president of the United States? Why would they then commit blatant fraud with respect to our election? If you follow the playbook of a color revolution, you're going to find that one of the integral parts of a color revolution is a disputed election. I think they wanted us to find out. I think they wanted to create turmoil in our country, with some people believing Biden won, others looking at the facts and realizing that President Trump won. I think there are bad actors in this country that do not love our Constitution, do not love our country, do not love our freedom. They want to take over our country, and I don't believe that President Trump is ever going to allow that to happen. I know the American people are not going to allow that to happen. This country is full of patriots. We've grown up all our lives loving freedom. We're not going to let somebody come over here and steal our lifestyle and our God-given right to be free. So I think there's going to be trouble in this country. I think it's going to arise out of a disputed election. But at the end of the day, I believe that America, a country founded under God, is going to prevail. We just got some tough days ahead. But I believe that President Trump is going to ultimately keep his campaign promise from 2016. He's going to drain the swamp. He's going to expose the wrongdoers in this country. And we're going to have a great next 4 years with President Donald J. Trump running a country that is free of foreign influence, free of these people that have committed crimes for their own money, their own pocketbooks, many of them for their own political ideology. Not everybody in the Democratic and Republican Party loves America. We have been, I believe, infiltrated over the last 2 to 3 decades by people who are communist or communist sympathizers, or people like Governor Brian Kemp and Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger, who have taken China money. They're dirty. They took money in the Dominion deal. Kemp took money when he bought a bunch of supplies for COVID, test kits, masks, gowns from China. Why would the governor of the state of Georgia, in effect, buy bullets from the enemy when you're in a war? China is involved in this up to its neck. They launched a virus in this country, COVID-19. I believe it was, in effect, a biological weapon. So if the individual citizens of this country love freedom, if they love the rule of law, then they need to be patient. Let the president and the people that are responsible for our government's effective operation give them time to work. We're working in the court systems, but we're working in the court of public opinion. At the end of the day, it's not going to be courts that decide this. It's not going to be legislatures that decide this. While they may be the procedural tools, this election is going to be decided where it should. It's going to be decided by we the people. We the people voted for Donald Trump, and we're going to make sure that our vote counts. We're not going to have it stolen by a bunch of criminals and foreign actors.
So, Linwood, you believe that the lawsuit that you filed and the 104-page lawsuit that Sidney Powell filed in Georgia, you believe that once you get an open hearing and present this evidence to an impartial judge, you're going to prevail. Is that what I'm understanding?
You are understanding that correctly. I think the evidence is overwhelming. We are going to prevail in a court of law. But there are other problems. I personally filed a lawsuit to expose the shenanigans of Brad Raffensperger, where in a backroom deal in March of 2020, he got together with the Democratic Party, represented by Perkins Coie, the Hillary Clinton law firm, and tried to cut a deal that changed the rules applicable to the election. He did not take it to the legislature. Members of the legislature didn't even know that he had done it until I filed the lawsuit. This is a backroom deal that's going to be exposed. The fraud in the case that Sidney Powell has filed is going to be overwhelming in states around the country that were key to this election. The American public is going to learn the truth. The rule of law is going to prevail. But there's a large number of people in this country, John, that simply do not want to accept the fact that we are a free society. They've got their financial interest involved. They've developed this propaganda against Donald Trump, who, if you look at the facts, has served this country well and has kept his campaign promises from 2016. One of those promises was to drain the swamp. Don't ever bet against Donald Trump. He's going to trump them all. I believe in the end he's going to keep that campaign promise. And these people who tried to steal this election, they're going to go to jail, as well they should.
Linwood, do you believe that on January 20th, Donald J. Trump is going to put his hand on that family Bible?
There's no question in my mind that Donald J. Trump on January the 20th will be sworn in for 4 more years as President of the United States. I think when all of the truth comes out and people understand what the bad actors tried to do to this country, Donald Trump is going to be remembered as one of the greatest presidents that ever served this country, because he served the people and he protected, defended our freedoms.
Lynn Wood with us. Lynn, couple more minutes. One thing that is just mind-boggling to me, 2 things. One, and I want to get back to Georgia for a second, where you live and where you file these suits. Number 1, second recount, state legislature, certain state senators, Brandon Beach, Steve Gooch will be with us, others, have demanded that the signatures on the envelopes be matched so that we can see, did people live in Georgia? Are they authentic? Are they real? We know the ballots and the envelopes have been disassociated, so you can't determine what envelope and what ballot. Everybody gets that. But if there's a 5 or 6 or 7% rate of fraud or rate of ballots that are going to get thrown out, why wouldn't you want to see that? Why is Raffensperger fighting that? I mean, and that doesn't have anything to do with the machines. That's just you send in a ballot. Right now, what we're finding out is a lot of these ballots had commercial addresses, which is illegal. You have to have a home or residence. They had P.O. boxes. Thousands of these, you understand, had P.O. boxes. Well, that's illegal. You can't have a P.O. box. You have to have an address. So why don't they take the time on this recount, Raffensperger, and match the signatures with the envelopes? What is the problem with that?
The problem with that is that it will undermine Mr. Raffensperger's freedom, because it's going to show that Donald Trump won this election, that these votes were fraudulent. They cannot be counted. Georgia went for Donald Trump by a landslide. And when that happens, the next step is going to be to find out the answers to the question that you raised. Why in the world would the governor, a Republican, supported by President Trump, and Raffensperger, a Republican, why in the world are these people not fighting for the president? Why are they not fighting for the citizens of Georgia to expose this fraud? Why don't they call a special session of the Georgia legislature to investigate and to the simple reason is they're dirty. They know they're going to be caught. They took money, millions of dollars, so that if the Biden administration ever went into office, which it will never, maybe their hope is they won't be investigated by the U.S. attorney. But the problem is it's going to be 4 more years of Donald Trump. And I predict that there are going to be U.S. attorneys investigating and have already investigated and linked Mr. Raffensperger and the governor of this state to foreign money that they then used for their own agendas and interfered with our election. I believe that Brian Kemp and Brad Raffensperger deserve to go to jail, and that ultimately justice will prevail, and they will go to jail. We cannot tolerate individuals taking millions of dollars from foreign actors and then willfully and knowingly interfering with our election process. This country cannot survive without free elections. It is the foundation of a democracy as we have in this country. You can't undermine our right to vote, because the minute you do and you take away our right to elect our leaders, you have taken away our freedom. We've become a third world country like Venezuela. I don't believe it's ever going to happen to a country founded under God.
All right, Linwood, final question. Let me ask you this. Lay out for us this week what you expect to happen with your suit, Sidney Powell's suit in Georgia. Just lay out the expectations so we can track it, sir.
Well, with respect to the lawsuit that I have, the 11th Circuit granted an emergency review, and the briefing will take place tomorrow. The Secretary of State has to file a brief. We file 2 days later, and then I believe the court will rule. I believe the court's going to rule on the clear law that we're relying on, and the election is void and unlawful. But if we don't prevail in the 11th Circuit, either way, it's going to go up to the United States Supreme Court. I believe the United States Supreme Court is going to follow established law, and I'm going to win my case. With respect to the case that I'm working with that Sidney Powell brought, that was the subject matter of the rulings yesterday, that case is going to proceed through the inspection of these machines. There may be other motions filed in that case. I also know that at least one or two other lawsuits are going to be filed today, one by the president, one by some individual voters with respect to the irregularities in the election. The challenge date has to be, the deadline is today. Those are going to be filed. Lawsuits are being filed in Michigan, Wisconsin, Arizona, the states where the fraud was obvious and it impacted the election. So it's tough on the American public to have to wait.
Right.
Everybody wants an answer.
Right.
But when you have this level of criminal activity and this level of fraud, give us some time. We're building the evidence. The evidence is overwhelming. And in due time, the American public will know that our president was reelected by a landslide. Our public's going to know the names, identities of the people who tried to interfere with it, working with foreign interest. So be patient. As the Bible says, wait on the Lord. This is going to be resolved, and justice is going to be done, and accountability for the wrongdoers, it's coming. It's around the corner.
And you have said that you have met with Sidney Powell for days, and you have reviewed the evidence in detail, and everything that she's put in this, you have seen it and verified it. It is real.
It is real. I've seen it. I've verified it. And the evidence keeps rolling in. You wouldn't believe the thousands of emails that I've received, that Sidney has received from Georgia, from all over this country. American people were paying attention. And there are a lot of patriots in this country, John. They've been reporting this fraud to us. We probably haven't even seen the tip of the iceberg. And what I've already seen makes up a mountain. I go back to what I said. Be patient. You're not going to hear this from the mainstream media. They don't want the public to know.
Right.
They're going to tell you that Biden is the president-elect. That is a joke. You're not the president-elect until the Electoral College votes or the other side concedes. And I've spoken with the president. He is never going to concede because he knows he won this election. If he had lost this election, Donald Trump would abide by the laws of the country, and he would walk away from the White House. But we cannot allow that to happen, because if we do, then we have thrown out the rule of law. We've become a third world country. I don't believe that the American patriots are ever going to allow that to happen.
So basically a win for you is nullifying the certification of the election in Georgia, which then would lead to that happening in other states, and Biden can't get to 270. Is that the way this plays out?
I think you're going to find that there's going to be legislatures around the country that are going to have to decide on their electors because their elections were fraudulent and unlawful, and there's not time for a revote. There is a provision in the United States Constitution. Our founding fathers were brilliant. They were inspired by God. And there's a provision in our Constitution that actually provides for how our president is elected, and at the end of the day, it may have to go to Congress, where President Trump, by virtue of the state legislatures, holds a 26-23 advantage. That may be the mechanism we follow under the Constitution to get justice done. But that won't be an election by 26-23. That's going to be an election by 80 million to probably 60 million at best. I'm not sure that's even accurate for Biden. President Trump won this election with a landslide victory that was of historic proportion, maybe as much as 70+% to 30. The American public wasn't fooled by the media charade and shenanigans that were the Biden campaign. People were watching. And I think that the bad actors that interfered with this election should have known better, that they were never going to fool the American people. We love our country, and we love our President, Donald J. Trump. He's protected us. He's going to preserve, defend, and protect our Constitution. We're not going to allow ourselves, again, as I've said, we're not going to allow ourselves to be like Venezuela, the country, by the way, that Dominion originated in before it was sold to Canada. China's involved. You may even have involvement by Iran. You've certainly got involvement overseas with first servers in Barcelona and Frankfurt. You've probably got overseas involvement with George Soros. Bill Gates is probably involved. There's a list of people. Justice is coming their way. If I was Brian Kemp in Georgia and Brad Raffensperger, I wouldn't be sleeping well at night.
John Fredericks Radio Network. Final question. I just got one listener who's been begging me to ask you this. Ken in Chesapeake says, can you ask Lynn Wood what happened to the crashed server in Georgia? What was that about? Lynn, do you know anything about that, or is it just more of the same?
I say it's more of the same because the media reports one thing and then witnesses report another.
I know.
We had the AP when the Associated Press starts reporting something, take what they say and look at it opposite because they're liars. But they reported that there was a server that crashed.
Right.
A server crashed, and then we find out from other eyewitnesses that the server was taken out of the room.
Right.
So I don't know if it crashed, and or whether it was stolen by these people to hide it. It's tough to figure out right now who to trust. There are a lot of traitors in this country. The news media is a traitor. News media is going to be held accountable too. But there's obviously now a problem with whether the Georgia election can even have a valid recount because of this server crashing in Fulton County. Fulton County was a lightning rod for the fraud that was obviously discovered way back from the story of the broken pipe that turned out to be an overflowing urinal, where they literally stopped counting, got a lot of votes brought in, and then without the Republican observers who had been told to go home, they sat there for 3 hours and manufactured votes for Biden.
Incredible.
So we're going to have I don't know when this story will ever fully be written, but it's going to be a long running series to figure out and show exactly what all these people did. But they've been caught. They've been caught, and they're going to jail, and President Trump's going to go back to the White House.
Lynn Wood, thank you. It's all going to come out because of Lynn Wood, Sidney Powell, and to be honest, I'm not just saying this for us, but media networks like myself trying to bring the truth out. It's really difficult to do this. And I told you before, the positive ruling you got at 5 a.m., I literally, to get a story on it, had to go to an Australian newspaper. Unbelievable, the censorship, Lynn Wood, that's going on.
John,
it's frightening.
I'll say this one last thing. You can probably tell from my voice that I'm tired. There hasn't been a lot of nights where there's been much sleep. But this is important. This is our country. This is our freedom. Sidney Powell is going to be a hero and recognized as such one day. She already, I think, is. What you're doing is as difficult from trying to get the truth out as what we're doing to try to assemble the evidence of the truth. But what you're doing and what certain members of the media are doing, the length you're going to expose the truth to the public, you're going to be a hero too, John, because truth is going to prevail in this country. Truth will always prevail over a lie. Sidney Powell and I are trying to develop the evidence that proves the truth, and you're doing a great job of getting that truth out to the American public. So thank you for what you're doing. Keep your nose to the grind. I'm going to do the best I can to keep mine to the grind, and let's get this country back on track. God bless you for your efforts.
Lynn Wood, thank you. Thank you for all you do. Want to say also, I said earlier, Dominion Energy. Of course, I meant the Dominion voting machines. I just said that out of habit, so I apologize for that. Let me give that retraction. And I want to thank Lynn Wood for his time. He's had very little sleep. He spent an hour with us today. And this is it, trying to get the truth out. That's what we're trying to do. And if you could help us out, go to my website, johnfredericksradio.com. We're doing a 10-day tour in Georgia, 10 cities in 10 days, trying to get the truth out. If you could help us out with a donation, defray some of the expenses that are. This is very expensive till we get our paper up and advertising in. It's tough to do, so we need your help. Go to johnfredericksradio.com. I want to thank Lynn Wood for being with us and for spending the time. I know he's really tired. So thank you, Lynn Wood. John Fredericks Radio Network.